Alright guys, what's going on? My name is Christian, and before I get started, like always, can we hit 100 likes? Definitely hit that like button. I'll make it a little bit shorter this time, and leave a comment in the comment section below. So anyway, on the last video I made about parties, some of you guys were like, what's some of the craziest things that have happened to you at a party? You know, why don't you make a video about, more of the parties you've been to? And let me just start off by saying, I'm not a huge party goer, like I don't go to tons of parties, and there's nothing wrong with the people that do. It's just that's not my thing. I enjoy being with people, and I enjoy get-togethers more than parties. But anyway, on this particular party, it was a small get-together, more of a get-together than obviously it would be a party. And so how this one happened is there was this family that was out of town, right? And they needed someone to watch their house, to go in, feed all the pets. They could sit down and watch TV, and while the pets went to the bathroom and everything, but that was about it. And the people that were watching the house for this family were two of my really close friends, and one of them was a girl, and we'll call her Trisha. And then my friend, which was her brother, who's a guy, obviously, we'll call him Mark. So Mark and Trisha were watching this house for this family, and on New Year's no one was there, and they decided to throw a party. And so at the time they had invited me, and I was like, all right, this kind of seems sketchy, like what if we get caught? I'm kind of a cautious person, and I really don't like getting in trouble. And so I was kind of upset about this, but at the same time I was like, you know what? It's New Year's. I want to have a fun time. And so yeah. So I'd say not a ton of people came. Like I said, this one was more of a get together. So Trisha brought the guy she liked, and then one or two of her friends. I can't even remember. This was like 2 years ago. And then my friend Mark also brought about like 3 of his friends, and they told me I could bring a couple of my friends, so I brought 2 of my friends. So anyway, we kind of got into it, and honestly, I'm not a drinker, so at the time I wasn't drinking, but just about everyone else was. And so my friends were there, and I actually, if I'm going to be honest, I was a designated driver at the time, so I was the one who was going to take everyone home, which I didn't have my license at the time, but it was a really short drive to get these guys home, so it wasn't even a big deal for me. But yeah, I didn't drink. I was there to mostly hang out, and only one of my friends stayed sober with me, and so, he was the person I had the most conversation with. Anyway, Mark and his buddies ended up going downstairs, and they watched TV downstairs. And then me and my 2 friends were upstairs playing on the Xbox that my friend Mark had brought, because their house was literally like 2 houses down from this house that they were sitting at. And our friend Trisha, the guy she liked that she invited, and her friend or 2, I think it was 2 friends, were there sitting on the couch watching TV and playing Xbox with us too. And so there was a lot of food, they had chips and drinks and everything. And at this point, we had already watched the ball drop, it was past midnight, and everyone was getting kind of drunk. And so me and my friend obviously were the only 2 that didn't. But my other friend that was there was talking weird stuff. So he got super drunk, and he's an aggressive drunk. Let me just say it like that. And there was a rumor going around, I guess, that I talked crap in one of the group chats about his girlfriend, which never even happened, and I talked about her, but it was nothing bad. And so I was like, dude, just drop it. And he was like, fine, whatever. And so we just went back to playing Xbox. Meanwhile, Trisha and the guy she invited went upstairs to one of the bedrooms. And luckily for her, at least, Mark was not up there, her brother, or else, he would have freaked out and stopped him. And him being drunk at the time, it wouldn't have been a good deal. He probably would have freaked out and punched him or something. I don't know. They all act stupid when they're drunk. But she, obviously Trisha and the guy she went up to the bedroom and shut the door, which didn't have a lock on it for some reason. What house doesn't have locks on doors? You'll see why that matters in a second. So anyway, we continue to play Xbox, and my friend that got drunk is getting more and more aggressive. He didn't bring up this stuff about his girlfriend when he was sober, and so now that he was drunk, it was obviously on his mind, and he was bringing it up. He's like, dude, just be honest. I know you were talking shit about her. And I was like, dude, I didn't say anything about her. You're just drunk right now. If you want to talk about this again, we'll talk about it when you're sober. And he was like, no, we're talking about this now, and he kind of came up to me and he pushed me, and I'm like, seriously, dude, Like, stop. Honestly, stop. And so my other friend who was sober kind of stood up and like put his arm in front of him, and he was like, dude, just stop. And then he pushed me again, right? And I was like, dude, okay, you really need to stop. I can't like put you down while you're drunk. And then he kind of comes in, he's like, I'm gonna punch you. And he gets his arm up and he kind of lunges towards me. And my friend that's sober kind of goes in front of him and stops him. And he's like, Christian, just go to one of the rooms for about 30 minutes and I'll try to calm him down and do whatever I can. And so luckily my friend that was sober was the mediator. Otherwise, who knows how this would have gone. And then the guy that was drunk and mad at me, I wish I had given him a name, but I didn't. He, anyway, ran around his arm and started running at me. And I was like, oh my God, seriously? Like, what do I do? So I ran up the stairs, and the first door that was there, I just opened, and then I slammed it shut, right? And then I kind of had to hold myself in front of the door. And then I look over, and my friend Trisha and this guy are just making out on the bed. She's half naked, completely topless, which I didn't want to see. You know, we were just really good friends, and like, it was something I didn't want to see. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, freaking what's his name is, you know, let's just call him Max. Max is freaking out right now. Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh my gosh, seriously, like, this is terrible. So Max is still at the door, but my sober friend kind of goes up to Max and like holds him back a little bit. And so I go to the bathroom and I lock the door, and Max opens it up and he's like, where's Christian? And they're like, you know, Trisha was like, he's not here, you know, I don't know where he is. And so Max eventually just gave up and went downstairs. And this was about after like 20 minutes though. He went downstairs and sat back down. And my friend who was sober was texting me. He was like, dude, just wait there for about like 10 more minutes while I calm him down. And he eventually calmed him down and he was all good. And so I had to walk past them where they were completely under the covers this time when I came out. And I was just like, all right, you know what? You guys do you. And I shut the door and I was like, I'm sorry about that. Not my fault. And I went back down and I'm like, Max, dude, I didn't say anything. And he's like, it's okay, bro. And I don't know, he was just okay after that. And yeah, but anyway, about like 3 hours later, I ended up driving most of them home, and they kind of just snuck in their houses. And then I actually went to Mark's house to spend the night that night, and we all kind of stayed in the basement. And the people that didn't go home went there, and we all kind of slept on the, you know, couches and stuff in the basement. But anyway, that was the story of kind of the craziest thing that's happened to me at a party. I know it's not even that crazy. It was just like, you know, I walked in on my friends naked, and one of my guy friends got really aggressive towards me, and that's about it. Not a huge climax, but just a story I thought I'd share with you guys. Anyway, as always, hit that like button. Don't forget to leave a comment. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you later. Peace.